Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today about erpCommerce for Sage X3. It's just the top of the hour now. We're going to wait a couple more minutes to give a few more attendees some time to get into the room, and we'll be starting up shortly. Thank you, everybody, for joining us once again. This is Adam. We'll be starting up momentarily, just giving a few more people some time to get into the room. All right, let's get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Today is our webinar on erpCommerce for Sage X3, fully integrated with Adobe Commerce, formerly Magento, fully integrated e-commerce in 60 days or less. Your presenter today is myself. I'm Adam Goldschmidt, the practice director at Pixify. We are a network sister company. I also realize now I probably have to update my headshot because I've been growing out my beard rather impressively over the last 4 months. On today's session, our agenda is going to be covering on who Pixify is, for those of you who don't know who we are and what we do. We're going to talk a little bit about erpCommerce and specifically the role that Adobe Commerce plays in that, erpCommerce and the role that Boomi plays in all of that. And then we'll circle in on what erpCommerce does, with some exciting product announcements for 2021 and 2022. And then if you have any questions at all, please do submit them into the webinar tool, and we will have some time at the end of the session to take some questions from the crowd. So let's just jump in and let's talk a little bit first about who is Pixify. We're not your traditional e-commerce agency, though we are an e-commerce agency. We consider ourselves the erpCommerce agency that's laser focused on one thing, and that's unleashing the potential of our customers' B2B and B2C e-commerce businesses powered by the ERP systems that run their enterprise. Supported by experts in both e-commerce and across multiple dedicated ERP practices within our sister company network, we are the one trusted partner that clients call first to deliver that unified erpCommerce experience. Our only goal is to enable our clients' strategic e-commerce objectives to facilitate growth, maximize profitability, and improve operational efficiency across the spectrum and all of your customer experiences. So why did we do this? And specifically to X3, we launched erpCommerce to fill what we saw was a glaring hole in the market, in that there weren't any standardized integrated e-commerce solutions for X3 and Adobe. There were other solutions in the market for e-commerce, what we would call a point solution, proprietary systems that really offered limited flexibility, limited functionality, and limited capacity to customize those solutions based on what the business needs. With a lot of those solutions, you're also restricted to working with a specific ERP. I've just been told that my screen is paused, and I apologize for that. Hopefully you guys see my slides now. So to get back on track, what we saw was that these solutions, these point solutions, you're also limited by the amount of companies that you're able to work with. The resources that can support the platform and support those integrations, as well as custom configurations, just were non-existent. So for that reason, Pixify was able to bring together Sage and Adobe to form an official partnership to launch erpCommerce, which is the first quick-to-market, standardized, integrated, commerce-ready solution that allows users to own their integration and enhance those platforms' capabilities based on those individual business needs. Proudly, we launched erpCommerce in May 2020 and is available on the Sage US Marketplace as of November 2020. We already have quite a few X3 customers already using erpCommerce. A special shout out to some of those who are joining from our customers today, specifically AKC, AKC actually runs erpCommerce on Shopify Plus. That's a different solution that we're not going to talk about today, but we will talk about erpCommerce as a whole. So what is erpCommerce? And this is not a definition that you'll see in any dictionary for real, but erpCommerce or ERP e-commerce is an e-commerce solution that enables companies to launch fully transactional, that's both B2B and B2C, as well as fully integrated ERP integrated websites that leverage market-leading e-commerce and cloud-based integration platforms in 60 days or less. We've strategically partnered with Adobe and with Boomi, leaders in their industries, to enable companies to go live fast and address their immediate needs today, while giving them the platform and tools needed to scale and customize and enhance their business as the future unfolds. We refer to this as a forever platform. On this screen, you'll see some of our customer testimonials and some statements that have been made. And the common denominator you'll see across this is that all of our customers and the organizations that we work with are using erpCommerce and the erpCommerce integration and Adobe Commerce and Boomi as a foundation for their online business. These companies all have immediate needs that we were able to address quickly, but we're also looking 5-10 years down the road in terms of how we're going to be able to support these organizations' ability to scale and effectively sell online. What we're seeing is that companies struggle across the spectrum with several business challenges that erpCommerce is really purpose-built to solve. And we'll get into some of those details as we get into some of the other slides. But what we're seeing is that companies are running disconnected and disparate systems for online commerce and back office. erpCommerce is looking to solve that challenge. A lot of companies, especially companies running X3, as any of you are X3 users know, you have a lot of complex integration processes and business operation processes that need to be supported. By using erpCommerce, we're looking to solve that challenge by giving you platforms and tools that can support all of those complex processes. Companies need to go live fast now more than ever, especially given what we've seen over the last 1.5 to 2 years with this pandemic. Everyone needs to sell online yesterday. The erpCommerce pre-built solution allows you to do that. And again, one of those other challenges that we're looking to solve is that there is a lack of pre-built integrations for key processes like orders, shipments, products, inventory, all of these things that you need to transact with your source of truth back office systems. There weren't pre-built integrations in the market until erpCommerce came along. You also were lacking with those other solutions the ability to customize the user experience via rich and robust and standard content management capabilities and personalization tools. We want to be able to scale the technology and grow and expand the website functionality at the same time, while also launching a new site in 60 days or less. So let's now take a look at Adobe Commerce and how Adobe Commerce plays a role in the erpCommerce vision. So when we started this whole thing, we specifically partnered with Adobe Commerce, which many of you might know them as Magento Commerce. They rebranded in April because they are a Magic Quadrant market leader 5 years running. You can look at the Forrester Wave, all the industry reports. Magento, Adobe Commerce is always squarely in that leader quadrant. It is a global and complete e-commerce solution that has a deep application and partner ecosystem that allow merchants to limitlessly extend and flex and scale their sites. We're going to talk about that a lot. And on the next slide, we'll go into some of the details in terms of how you're able to do that. But leveraging a solution and an e-commerce platform that has this ginormous community of resources that can save you cost and that can give you flexibility as an organization is unparalleled. The other thing that is specific to Adobe Commerce that really puts them in that leader quadrant is because of the focus on B2B. Adobe Commerce, and we'll talk a little bit about the differences between Adobe Commerce and Adobe Open Source or Magento Open Source, but we're talking about the Commerce product. They have a robust B2B feature set, and erpCommerce allows our clients' ERP systems to be that single point of truth that runs the online business and workflows through a predictable and deep feature set. Some of the other features that we leverage and that are really, really important to the merchants using erpCommerce within the Adobe Commerce suite are the rich content management capabilities with drag and drop interfaces that allow you to merchandise and create content for your customers without having to know how to code or program anything. It's all a user-friendly interface that if you know how to send an email with an attachment, you can manage the content of your website. Leveraging the Adobe Sensei technology, Adobe Commerce is also able to provide personalized content and promotions, as well as product recommendations and search results to customers, giving your B2B customers that showroom type of experience where they can easily find what they're looking for and what they order from you frequently. Being able to support that with machine learning and artificial intelligence is a massive value add that Adobe Commerce and inherently erpCommerce bring to the table. You're able to manage multiple stores, both for B2B and B2C, for different brands into different channels through a single interface. When you're looking at some of the other solutions out there, you have to have multiple sites that are integrated separately with your ERP, with your source of truth. With Adobe Commerce, we only have to integrate with your Sage X3 ERP one time, and we can use that data to support multiple sites running from a single interface. It's a huge efficiency boost to your organization to not have to manage multiple websites and multiple back office integrations at once. We mentioned that Adobe Commerce is a global platform, so in addition to being able to sell multiple sites through a single interface, you can sell in multiple different languages, currencies, with different tax policies based on those different locations that you're selling to around the world, as well as support new revenue streams like subscriptions and digital products and services. Something that Adobe Commerce has invested heavily in over the last several years is the Adobe Cloud Hosting solution. And being on Adobe Commerce, you're able to take advantage of the Adobe Cloud Hosting solution that provides all of the infrastructure and hardware and software needed to run a high-performing e-commerce website with the 4 nines uptime, making sure that your customers are able to seamlessly navigate through your content. And again, we spoke about the marketplace. The Adobe Marketplace offers thousands of off-the-shelf extensions that can give you a leg up on creating enhanced functionality for your website. Things like rewards programs, enhanced coupon handling, different types of chat programs, marketing interfaces. All of these can easily be integrated through the Adobe Marketplace and the plugins that are provided there. And additionally, all of those standard SEO capabilities, search and navigation, the ability to cross-sell and upsell, and provide product recommendations to your customer that people have come to expect from all best-in-class market platforms. Obviously, Adobe provides those as well. So now that we've covered on the Adobe and Magento side of things, let's dip in a little bit to Boomi, who's the integration platform, the integration layer that we're using that's part of our erpCommerce solution. And people will often ask me, why do we need integration software? Why do we need Boomi if both Adobe and Magento, as well as X3, have their own APIs and technically can integrate with each other directly? So the first and foremost thing that we wanted to hit on is that when we're using Boomi, we're using a standardized and an open source integration. It's not a point integration like we had spoken about previously. So this is an integration that our customers can own. And if they wanted to make modifications to workflows, set up their own workflows, their own touch points, their own data exchanges, you're actually able to do that. You're not limited by the capabilities of a point solution with specific resources that can work on that, or proprietary resources that can work on that. Just like with Adobe Commerce, we're leveraging a best-in-class market-leading solution. The Gartner report on integration platforms just came out a couple of days ago, and we're showing that 2021 quadrant there. And as always, Boomi is squarely in that leader quadrant again. And one of the reasons why we use Boomi here is that it gives you the ability to not only integrate X3 and e-commerce, that's obviously the core to our solution, but we know that organizations have other integrations that need to be supported as well. Integrations with 3PL partners or EDI trading partners. You might have order management systems or CRM systems that need to be built into your erpCommerce workflows. By using Boomi, a best-in-class market-leading integration platform that has the capability to integrate with any application or software or program that you're running, we're giving you a tool unlike any other in the e-commerce space that allows you to add in additional connections and complexity to your integrations. And again, because it's a market-leading platform and because it's widely used throughout the industry, there's a huge community of resources that know the platform so that you and your teams and the teams that you're working with can always maintain that subject matter expertise. And really for customers, this delivers a tremendous amount of value because a lot of the customers we work with are looking to bring those integrations in-house. They want to be self-sufficient in that regard, and having a platform that provides the enablement that Boomi does provides tremendous value to those growth plans. A couple of other reasons why we're going to use Boomi, why we use an integration platform or an engine, if you will, is to simplify that communication. Yes, while X3 and Adobe Commerce do have their own APIs, they're different languages. They speak differently. Boomi kind of allows us to translate that. We basically get to write the connection points in using the languages that those applications want to communicate in, and then we get to use Boomi to modify all the business logic and determine what we're doing with that data that's coming in from these different endpoints. There's a centralized system there that allows us to easily monitor the integration, as well as provide alerts and backups. So if there is an issue with data, or if there's an issue with an integration or an application itself, we can easily resume service. We can allow these platforms to operate independently of one another, so that if you do have these planned or unplanned outages, everything can continue to work and operate and come back in once the queues are restored and service is restored. And again, because Boomi has the capability to integrate with any platform or application that you're working with, the flexibility to develop custom workflows is tremendous. It's tremendous, especially for X3 users who have invested a tremendous amount of time and effort into their ERP workflows. We want to let our customers maintain those. We don't want you to change anything about the way that you're working with ERP, and using a tool like Boomi allows us to maintain those processes. So we've spoken a little bit about our partners. We've spoken about Adobe Commerce and what they lend to erpCommerce. We've spoken about Boomi and our integration layer and what that does in the whole, in the puzzle. But let's now get into the weeds functionally about what erpCommerce does. So when we talk about erpCommerce, we talk about endpoints and we talk about touch points. The endpoints, that's Adobe Commerce, that's Sage X3. And then the touch points are the specific data transactions that take place within erpCommerce. So what you're looking at on the screen are everything that's capable through erpCommerce. Everything that's above the lines on the left and right side, those are the standard integration touch points that every erpCommerce user has access to. So when you create your products in X3 and when you update inventory or pricing for those products in X3, all of that data is going to move over to Adobe Commerce. Your customers and your contacts for your B2B users are going to move over. We're going to sync over the sales orders and the invoices and the shipments. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail on those standard touch points over the next couple slides. But before doing that, I did want to just highlight the capabilities that we have below the line as well. So processes like order cancellations or RMAs and returns or converting quotes into orders. These are workflows that companies are investing heavily to take place within their CRM, within their ERP systems. And what we want to be able to do is create solutions that work for those organizations. With products and customer data and sales orders, it's been very easy for us to standardize those processes in a way that it'll work for all X3 users. But because some of those workflows below the line tend to vary greatly from organization to organization, those are what we call capable touch points. Those are things that we can build in on top of the core solution. So let's take a dip into those 7 standard touch points, starting with your products. We want to, throughout this process, the common theme is that we don't want people to have to do double data entry. If you're creating product records in X3 and you're uploading images in X3 and descriptions and content that ultimately needs to make its way to your website, there's no reason for an organization to manage their catalog in 2 locations. So whenever a new product is created in X3 or whenever a product is updated in X3, we're going to increase the organizational efficiency by automatically creating those new products and updating the products in Adobe based on what's going on in X3. You'll be able to sync over whatever product data exists in X3 to support your merchandising, your inventory, your pricing, and your order workflows. We have the capability to bring in products as enabled or disabled. So if there is additional marketing content that does not live in X3 that needs to get added in to Adobe Commerce before you present these customers, these products to your customers on the website, we have the capabilities to support that within the standard workflows as well. Once we've gotten all the product data synced in, something that's extraordinarily important to streamline the order process for your customers is consolidating inventory from X3 across multiple warehouses so that we can determine on the website what is available to be purchased and which customers can buy what. There are also configurations available within eRpCommerce to support multiple warehouses and customer-specific allocation logic. Anything that you're managing in X3, any customizations that you may have to your inventory processes in X3 can all be supported through eRpCommerce and as well as Adobe Commerce. Moving on to product pricing, this is extraordinarily important for B2B customers, and it's something that is super complex, not from an operational perspective, but the capabilities within X3 to create highly complex pricing models for your B2B customers to give them negotiated pricing is fantastic. And that's one of the main reasons why people use X3. It was important to us that when we built eRpCommerce, we're able to leverage that capability so that when your B2B customers are logging into the website to view what's available for them to purchase, we're not serving them a price that they're not going to pay. We are going to pull their specific negotiated price from your price lists in X3 and present that to them on the website. That'll factor in any back office business logic you have in X3 that determines what price that customer is getting. So things like seasonal promotions or quantity or tier-based discounts, anything that you've configured for that customer in X3 will be relayed to Adobe Commerce so that they can get their own pricing, their own specific price when they're going through the purchase journey. Speaking of customers and contacts, this is also a very important B2B functionality within eRpCommerce. Within X3, you have the capability to set up customers. These are business entities, as well as set up contacts that are associated to those customers. Those are individuals that you work with in those organizations. When you create customers and you create contacts in X3, we will automatically create companies and customers. Those are the terminologies used on Adobe Commerce in Adobe Commerce. So if you have a B2B customer, out of the box by default, they will get a user account created automatically. They'll be notified, here's how you log in, here's how you access your product catalog, and all of that entire process is streamlined for you. We do have the capability to limit which customers and contacts from X3 do get synced. So if there are identifiers or fields in X3 that can help us identify which customers should have accounts created, or if you have multiple websites, which customers should have access to purchasing on which site, we'll bring over all that data from X3 and make sure that the user accounts are configured properly on the e-commerce platform to reflect that. And it's important to note that all of these individual users that we're going to set up will be tied into the same company, to the same customer in X3, so that they have shared details across credit limits, pricing, anything that lives on the company level, the customer level in X3 will be shared across those individual users in Magento in Adobe Commerce. This slide's very exciting to present today because this is an enhancement to eRpCommerce, to our core solution that we are proudly releasing this month, and that is the bidirectional order sync. So previously with eRpCommerce, we simply were taking the orders that were placed on Adobe Commerce, where your customers are placing the orders on your e-commerce website, and getting those down to X3 so that they can be fulfilled. What's starting to happen now with eRpCommerce, and it's something that we've seen in the market, and we've had quite a few customers ask us for this feature over the last several months, is giving customers the portal capabilities, if you will, so that when your customers log into your site, they don't just see e-commerce orders, they can see any order entered into X3. So we're not only taking orders and moving them from the e-commerce site to X3 so that they can be fulfilled, but any order that's placed in X3 or that comes into X3 through a channel is going to also be synced over to Magento Commerce, giving your customers full visibility into their full online and offline order history. We're really, really excited about this update, and it's included in the core eRpCommerce going forward. We also have within the sales order process specific workflows to support paying on account based on the credit limits that these customers have for B2B users, as well as credit card purchases and workflows that would pass these orders down as prepaid orders if they're paying for them online. And then we move into the invoicing, right? So if an order is being paid for by credit card, the invoice doesn't typically apply. So for a B2C customer, they're not going to necessarily care about that invoice. But for a B2B customer who's purchasing on account or who's placing an order on credit card also, what erpCommerce is going to do is any invoices generated in X3 will be sent over to Adobe Commerce so that the customer has full view of all their invoice history within their order history, as well as a separate invoice history table. We actually split those invoices so you can see which invoices were generated by Adobe Commerce and which ones were generated by X3. But at the end of the day, we're looking to give that customer the highest level of visibility into all of their account details within erpCommerce. And then the final touch point that I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about are shipments, and this is critically important across all users, both B2B and B2C. You want to be able to let your customer know when their items are arriving. You want to give them their tracking information, what items are in the packages that are being shipped out. So we're obviously going to take any finalized shipment in X3 for these orders and sync those over to Adobe Commerce. So while we're giving the customer full access to all of their orders, we're also showing them any invoices associated to those orders, as well as any shipments associated to those orders, and triggering out emails to them to let them know their goods are on the way. We're getting towards the end of the presentation part here, so I did just want to take a little bit of a break and let everybody know we're ready for your questions. So if you do have any questions, start to submit those into the questions box. We have a couple to get to at the end, but if you do have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. So I want to pivot now into what the erpCommerce solution includes. We spoke through it a little bit functionally, but let's talk about all the components here. So erpCommerce costs $42,000 annual. And what you get with that $42,000 annual is as follows. Number one, you get an Adobe web store, and that's the core solution, the core website that we'll set up for you using the standard erpCommerce theme, and that's enabled for both B2B and B2C out of the box. If you look in the top right-hand corner, that's a screenshot of the default theme. Anything that's in the header, so the images, the logos, the color schemes, the fonts, all of that is completely customizable through the Magento admin interface. All of the content that lives between the header and footers, the images, the buttons, the promotions, is all manageable through the Adobe Commerce content management tool. So you'll actually get a fully functional website with your license. You'll also included in that get a 2 endpoint license with Boomi. Typically, that is charged a much higher price on list if you were buying it directly from Boomi, but we have a relationship where we're actually able to build the Boomi license into your erpCommerce solution. You'll get 2 endpoints with that, endpoint number 1 being for X3, endpoint number 2 being for Adobe Commerce. But of course, if you had additional workflows and applications that you needed to integrate with, we have the capability to add on additional endpoints for a cost. You'll, as I said, get those 7 standard touch points. So that's your customers, your bidirectional order sync, your shipments, inventory, pricing, invoices, and products. And what's really cool is that we'll also install a plugin to Adobe Commerce that will allow you to manage the integration directly through the e-commerce platform. Some people get intimidated by Boomi, by the technical knowledge that may be needed to create workflows and manage the integration directly in their platform. So fear not. One of the things that we've done to make this easier for our customers is create a user-friendly interface within the Magento administrator that allows you to directly configure the erpCommerce integration there without having to know how to code or have technical skills. So things like configuring the email that goes out when a customer account is created, or if you wanted to set the interval for how frequently you're going to be syncing in product data, or if you wanted to turn off your inventory sync temporarily because you're doing reconciliation at the warehouse level, all of these things are capable through the erpCommerce admin tool in Magento Commerce, in Adobe Commerce, and we're also able to provide statistics and error reports. So let's say a customer account or a product couldn't be created because of a data issue, we're actually going to give you those reports and that visibility within Adobe Commerce directly as well. We'll also configure X3. We'll install a patch which includes the web services that communicate through Boomi to Sage. We'll include your annual support and maintenance as part of the solution as well. The only thing that this does not include would be your Adobe Commerce license directly. That has to come from Adobe directly. If you are interested, we will get you set up with an Adobe rep so that we can start to size, and they'll ask you some questions around what your revenues look like and what your average order volume is and the seasonality of your business. That'll help them create a quote for the Magento license. So that is not included. That would be on top of the $42,000. And then of course, any customizations on top of the core solution, those we would deal with separately as well. There is one other way that we sell erpCommerce, and that's the integration only solution. So let's say you are already a Magento Commerce user running X3, and you just need somebody to come in and connect the dots and handle the integration. We've basically created this at a lower price point. It's $30,000 annual instead of $42,000 annual, and you get everything that the full solution includes except for that website. So to sum things up before we get to the question, these are the real solution benefits and why companies are winning with erpCommerce. First off, because of the platforms and tools that we use in the feature sets, we're able to take customers from zero to integrated commerce in 60 days. It's a pre-built but fully customizable and extendable integration platform that has a huge ecosystem of resources on market-leading, industry-leading solutions. We allow, again, for limitless customization and configuration so that we can create business process-driven technology and not technology-driven business processes, where we can maintain ERP as the source of truth that runs your online business. We're actually going to be at Sage Sessions in November. So I actually just launched a quick poll there. So if any of you are going to be at Sage Sessions in Orlando in November, we'd love to know. So please, answer that poll when you get a chance. And if you want to learn more, we will. But I figure now's a good time for us to pivot into the questions. I certainly wanted to thank everybody for their attention and for joining us today. And now we'll get into it. So let's see, where do we start here? Okay, BJ is asking, how does erpCommerce handle LTL freight? It's a good question, BJ. Magento has native shipping engines and integrations with all of the carriers. As far as LTL shipments go, it really depends on who the LTL provider is and what integration capabilities they provide. Some LTL providers, some LTL carriers have their own extensions on the Magento ecosystem, so in the marketplace. So we can simply pull in their extension and pull shipping rates through their integration directly. Some provide APIs and it would have to be a custom integration. And in some opportunities, you can leverage Magento's flat rate shipping models to at least capture some funds from the customer up front and calculate things on the back office. I would definitely suggest that, if that's something that's of mind when we speak, BJ, next, let's talk about that in a little bit more detail so that we can fully understand what you're looking to get out of that. Haley is asking, let's see, I lost the question. Will these slides be sent out after the webinar? Yes, they will. Anybody who is registered for the webinar will receive a recording and will include the deck as well. John is asking, does the standard bidirectional orders integration, I lost it on the screen for a second, include sending payments, prepayments to X3? So when we talk about bidirectional integration, there are a couple different workflows. When a customer places an order using a credit card on Adobe Commerce, we will charge their card using the gateway on Adobe Commerce and pass that order down to X3 as prepaid with a payment already applied to it. If it's an X3 originating order, the payments are going to take place within X3. So we'll send the prepayment information down when the order is sent if it's paid for in advance. But if the customer is ordering on account, all of the payments, all of the invoicing is all going to be handled in directly through X3. Another question, we have an EU site and a US site for the customer sync from X3 to Adobe. Is there a way to add customers to specific sites? Yes, there is. So again, we were talking about how Magento Adobe can support multiple websites through a single integration, through a single admin interface. As long as there is an indicator in X3, as long as we can tell in X3 which customers should have access to which sites, we can configure the erpCommerce workflows and business logic to do that for you. So when we create a customer, let's say you have a UDF or a field in X3, that notes, EU customer or US customer, and it's a tick box, a checkbox or something like that, we'll look to pull that value in when we create the customer to determine which sites they have access to. Again, more than glad to talk about this more specifically with anyone who is of concern for. Somebody asked, does Adobe Commerce easily integrate with sales tax management solutions such as Avalara and Vertex? And that is correct, Peter. Yes, they do. Avalara and Vertex both have extensions on the Magento marketplace that allow you to calculate tax against the same nexus and the same account that you're using to calculate tax within ERP, so that we're going to calculate tax on Magento in much the same how with the payments. We'll pass the prepayment information down with the order. We'll also pass the calculated tax down with the order into Adobe Commerce. What versions of X3 are supported, John asks. Are SOAP and REST supported out of the box? So yes, SOAP and REST are supported out of the box with Boomi. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. I'll come back to that. But in terms of versions of X3, anything V11 and higher is what we've built this for. We started building erpCommerce when V11 was the most recent. We've taken it up to V12 and we'll have it ready for V13 as well. We've also actually been able to see that erpCommerce has worked rather seamlessly for some customers running versions as far back as 6.5, but that's really going to be dependent on what customizations are in place. Just to spend a little bit of time talking about how we integrate with X3. So with Boomi, there's a ton of pre-built connectors that are available in their marketplace. So for example, Magento, let's talk about maybe a Salesforce CRM, some other solutions. They have pre-built connectors that are available that you can use and configure. X3 obviously does not. So with X3, we actually created the connector, if you will, for X3 using what's called an HTTP connector as well as a SOAP connector on Boomi. So we're actually able to leverage, they have other connectors that are customizable, configurable connectors. We install the patch to X3, and again, that enables all of the web services to communicate in and out of Boomi. But if there's, and those are all, again, SOAP web services. But again, if there's a need to integrate within Boomi using other technologies, HTTP, FTP, SOAP, REST, etc., there are connectors available on Boomi for all of those. John, again, I hope I answered that question. We can pick up the conversation on that offline if there's something more specific to address. Let's see. Sinning Wang, our sales orders are created via Salesforce. Could it work for eRPCommerce? That is a great question. So we actually have a customer, Centair. We've actually integrated with Salesforce and Adobe. With the way that their system works is that the order originates in Adobe Commerce, and then we send it into X3 as well as for processing, and we send it into CRM for marketing activities and tracking those behaviors. The way that we connect to Salesforce is we leverage the Boomi Salesforce connector. So just the same way that we're pulling orders into eRPCommerce, into Adobe Commerce from X3, if you add an additional endpoint to get data in and out of Salesforce, we can easily pull orders from Salesforce directly into Adobe Commerce. We can use Boomi to pull orders from Salesforce into X3, and then X3 can send those orders in. So we definitely have the capability to support workflows like that. These are all great questions, by the way. Thank you, everybody, for submitting them. There are quite a few more. We're at 2:37, so we're getting close to time, but I think we have time to answer most of them. So if you have more, please pop them in. Here's the question. Would we be able to customize the site ourselves, such as adding unique functionality, password protector library, custom calculator, etc.? The answer to that question, BJ, is 100% yes. Your Adobe Commerce license is owned and operated by you. You can manage anything you want through the code directly. You can manage anything you want through the content management capabilities. And something that's interesting to note, and part of the reason why we used Adobe, and I didn't hit on this enough earlier, is that we wanted to leverage platforms that can encourage collaboration. We actually have several eRPCommerce customers that are handling all of the creative development on Adobe Commerce in-house. We have some customers who work with another agency, another creative agency or another Magento agency, and they're just using us to help with the integration. So really, however you see fit to manage the site and maintain the site moving forward and customizing either on the content or the code levels, we are set up to do exactly that. These platforms are owned by you. We're not using anything proprietary outside of the connection that we have into X3, which isn't even really proprietary because it's a collection of web services that we've installed into a patch. Everything that we're using is open source, fully owned, and potentially fully operated by our customers directly. There's another person asking what versions of Sage X3 we support. I did answer on that, but again, it's optimized for 11 and up. We've seen it work as far back as 6.5, depending on the customizations. coincidentally, I'm working with a creative agency. Can we still use your product? So again, yes, I can give you referrals to creative agencies. Those are the companies that we are really, really set up well to work with. If you guys remember the first slide I showed, we are an ERP commerce agency. We're not a traditional e-commerce agency. And admittedly, there are certain things that some agencies do that we're not the strongest in. And we want our customers to be able to bring in partners that can support those initiatives in the best way possible. So again, if it's internal resources, third-party resources, we want to be very, very clear about the fact that you don't have to come to Pixify. You should never feel like you have to come to Pixify for anything outside of the installation of the core solution. We really want to set this up in a way that you can own it and operate it as you see fit. We have a question here from Tim. Tim is asking, I'm migrating from another platform. Is it difficult or expensive? Yeah, it's funny. This came up on a webinar we did a couple weeks ago as well. Migration is an interesting thing because the biggest challenges for migrating websites are twofold. Number one, maintaining your SEO rankings. That's going to be a challenge regardless of what solutions you're transferring from to. The second thing is your content. We believe that since erpCommerce uses X3 as the source of truth that runs the online business, the content challenge is not as great because it's all coming in from X3. As long as it lives there, we don't really have to migrate it over from another website. Now, if you have marketing content, SEO-friendly descriptions, things like that, that you're not storing in X3, most platforms offer the capability to export that data out, and it's just a matter of importing it into Magento, associating it to those products. You'll obviously, because we're doing that bidirectional order sync, as long as the orders from your old platform have hit X3, we're going to bring them back into Magento. So we kind of, cross that barrier off the list. Invoices, again, everything source of truth is in X3. So as long as the data from that old site lives in X3, that's not so much of a challenge. From an SEO perspective, there's a couple things that we do when we migrate from one site to another. The most important thing is making sure that you have 301 redirects, making sure that if there's any pages that are either spidered in the Google indexes or saved on people's as links in people's emails or bookmarks on their browsers, we want to make sure that if somebody's going to a site, to a page that no longer exists because you moved, it's redirected to the right page on the new site. That's a huge, huge factor in making sure that your SEO, whatever existing SEO clout you had, is maintained when you move to erpCommerce. But Adobe Commerce fully supports the ability to import and export data. It fully supports the capability to set up 301 redirects. Adobe Commerce is actually set up that if you change a URL in Adobe Commerce and it becomes different, it will automatically create a 301 redirect for you. So we actually don't view migrating as a huge challenge here. And again, that's because of the ERP source of truth philosophy. We got a couple more minutes to take a couple more calls. Linda asks, are there any limitations on what payment gateways we can use? The only limitation that you have is that it needs to work with Magento. Magento has a couple of native gateways that are pre-integrated into the platform, PayPal, Braintree being those. All of the major players, Stripe, Authorize.net, etc., all have marketplace extensions that we can leverage that allow you to patch into the bank accounts that collect those funds. The goal is that we want to use a marketplace extension or something that's native to Magento so that we can, again, eliminate a layer of complexity. We don't want to create a custom payments process. We want to be able to capture payments on Magento when the orders are being paid for on Magento and pass those orders down to X3. What I will say is that we have some customers who have a custom workflow in place where if there's an open invoice that's not associated to an order placed on Magento, we have done some integrations into X3 to allow that customer to pay what we would call an offline invoice online. That is a customization that we do on top of erpCommerce, and depending on who your payment processor is, there's different ways that we can go at that as well. Somebody else asked, how does erpCommerce handle tax? So just to reiterate, just like with Avalara, Vertex, the goal is that we want to set up erpCommerce to calculate tax the same way it's set up in X3. So if you're using Avalara, we'll use Avatax on erpCommerce on Adobe Commerce. If you're using Vertex, the same. If you're using Thomson Reuters RunSource, the same. Let's say you have table rates in X3 and you're managing it directly in X3, and you're going in and you're saying this is the rate for this state for these products. Magento also offers the capability to manage table rates in Magento directly. It's not the way we like to go about doing things because it really means you have to manage your tax nexus in 2 locations instead of 1. There's of course integrations that can be done to streamline that if you need, but generally speaking, we look to leverage the native tools and the tax software that you're likely already using as an organization. How much does Adobe cost? How much does Boomi cost? And that's the last question. So with Adobe Commerce, I can't really tell you what it costs because A, I'm not allowed to, and B, it's really business specific. Adobe has a questionnaire that they'll provide you with when they get started in the engagement. Again, they'll ask some questions around what your total revenue is online, what you're looking at your growth being, if you're selling B2B and B2C, if you do flash sales, how many warehouse locations, how many stores are you going to have? They have a whole bunch of questions they're going to ask to size you up and then provide you with a quote. So I can't really give that number now. I will tell you also, if you've done a lookup online to see what you should be paying, Adobe does not have any published pricing, so anything you see there would be unofficial. As far as Boomi goes, Boomi is included for all intents and purposes in your erpCommerce license. So it's built into that 42,000 annual is your Boomi 2 endpoint license. And if you needed to add on additional endpoints, again, for example, if you wanted to integrate with a 3PL, or if you wanted to integrate with a CRM platform, etc., each additional endpoint adds about $8,000 annual to your license. So if you add a third endpoint instead of 42,000 annual, it would be 50,000. If you had a fourth, it would be 58, etc. But that's really just the software cost, to add those connections, and it's far lower than what you would get from list pricing from Boomi directly built into our model. Going once, going twice for any other questions here. But I really did want to thank everyone for their time today. Let me pop my contact information up on the screen for you as well. Again, I'm Adam. I'm the practice director here at Pixify. It was great spending some time with you today. I hope that you all found it educational. I hope you learned some things. We're really excited about the bidirectional order sync. Sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning. We'll look to fix that on the recording, and maybe we can get that, so you can see those initial slides. But if you missed what I look like, now you can see it. Again, I have a rather impressive beard right now, and all of our social handles are there. So I do encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, etc., so you can keep up with all the latest and greatest going on with Adobe Commerce, with Boomi, erpCommerce, and specifically Pixify. Thank you, everybody, for your engagement, for joining us today, and I hope to speak to you all soon.